Okay, so in this particular module, you're going to be talking about, or you're learning more about socioeconomic status and how it relates to achievement. So we know that socioeconomic status does relate to achievement. We know that the lower the socioeconomic status of a student, the less likelihood that they are to graduate high school, have a reading level on grade level, to go on and complete a degree, and so forth and so on. So inside this module, I did provide you a link to a Prezi that I put together. I want you to spend some time looking at those videos and reviewing the information because it goes further into what types of cognitive lags, the types of stressors or emotional behaviors that children who live in poverty are showing. To start you off though, this particular page, the condition of education by the National Center of Education Statistics, gives you lots of great statistics about various things in education. And so first off, what this graph shows is the distribution of parents' education level from ages 5 to 17. So we know that the level of parent education has a direct influence or impact on the achievement level that we see in children. And so that's why that's important, is because we know those two things are correlated. Doesn't mean that one causes the other, but as one level of education for the parents increase, so typically does the achievement level of students. And that's for a variety of reasons. And part of those reasons are shared in that Prezi that I gave you. But so you can see the overall distribution of 5 to 17-year-olds. This is what that makeup looks like. So about 30%, 38% of those families have a bachelor's degree or higher, meaning that the rest of the population doesn't have a bachelor's degree. So they have some form or level of education consisting of less than high school up to an associate's degree or some college education. And you'll notice that families with doctorate degrees are a small percentage of the population of about 5%. Okay, so what? What does that mean? Well, we see those distributions kind of skewed when we look at it in terms of race. And so when we look at those numbers in terms of race, we notice that, yes, 38% of our total population of families, their parents have a bachelor degree or higher. But when we look at that in terms of race, we notice that 64% of Asian families have a bachelor's degree or higher. We see that whites 49%, but when you're looking at the other races, we're seeing a very small percentage, lower than the average, of families that have parents with a bachelor's degree or higher. And again, why does that matter? Just because we do see a correlation between the degree or the education level of parents and the subsequent achievement. And a lot of that has to do with how often that parents are talking to them, what type of vocabulary they're using, how often they're reading to their children. So that does make a difference, is we're seeing a smaller percentage of Hispanic and Black families with bachelor's degrees versus the white and the Asian families. The other thing, one of the websites that I directed you to was the poverty threshold. So what type of annual household income is expected, or the threshold of poverty. And so when we look at that threshold, currently in 2015, it's about $25,000 for a family of 4. We notice that here in the southern states, we have very high percentages of poverty. You'll notice that dark red means it's higher than the US average, where some of these upper or the northern states aren't seeing that type of poverty level. So poverty is highly concentrated in these southern states from west to east. So when we look closer at the poverty levels as far as what percentage of families under the age of 18 are living in poverty by race and ethnicity, we see that the total population of students under the age of 18 is about 21% living in poverty. And then when you look at that closer, you see the highest concentrations of poverty are in Black, Hispanic, and American Indian families, with the lower percentages in Asian and white. And so we see the distribution of poverty not necessarily distributed across the ethnicity or the races, but more concentrated in about 3 ethnicities.